Imagine that. If you send them to Harrow, you'll end up, if you took that money, invested it, making $9.2 million. Just talk about how expensive it is. I built a tool where you can actually see the numbers. So what I did research. I got all of the available public data of some of the key international schools and bilingual schools, and I built a calculator that would look at what the investment would be for a student learning from X year to X year in their preschool, primary school, and high school. And you can see the overall investment. Supposing you've moved here, you're young, but you want to get married and have kids, this is something that you've got to think about. Now, if you're wondering what the cheapest international schools are, well, the ones in my data set, now there could well be cheaper ones, is come and live in Thailand, they say. It's so cheap, they say. You can get a meal for less than $1. Now, that all may be true if you're willing to live a certain way in Thailand. But if you really do decide to move to Thailand, say especially when you're young, you might be carefree and able to live on a shoestring budget until you get yourself together for a period of time. But as life happens, you may meet somebody, you may have a family, you may have kids, and then you have a decision that's going to affect not only the rest of your life, but the rest of your family's lives, and especially your kids. Now, coming from a country like Australia, where I was born, and back in the time that I was a kid, schooling wasn't a huge issue. I went to a great school. I went to a Catholic school up until year 10. Year 11 and 12, it was a public school, but it was almost better than the private school, the public school that I went to. And the fees were minimal compared to, say, what you might have to pay today. But in Thailand, things are a lot different. Now, supposing you've met a Thai and you've had kids together, so your kids may well have dual nationality. So you got to decide, are they going to go to an international school or are they going to a Thai school? Now, if they go to a Thai school or international school, this basically sets in stone what their life trajectory could well be. Because what happens is, once you get them in the Thai system, they're pretty much locked in there, because from preschool, these kids are going in, they're learning all of the social subjects, all of the language subjects, everything that's going to put them on a track to finally get them into a Thai university through all the entrance exams and to get them into the right school, into the right network of people, so they'll finally come out and get that job that their family wanted them to get. Maybe it's a karatakan as a civil servant, maybe it's a policeman, maybe it's in the military, maybe it's in CP company, whatever it is. That whole path starts from when the kid's about 1.5 years old and they choose which Thai school to get them into. The alternative is an international school. So if you're an expat, you're probably going to want to have your kid going to an international school rather than a Thai school. There are bilingual schools, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But when we're talking about the prices of international schools in Thailand, they can be insane. They are obscene, I would say, in some cases, especially when you compare them to what equivalent education may be back home in Australia or, say, across Europe. I know in the US, education is a different system to what I'm used to, but when compared to what I'm used to, I can't believe the school fees that some international schools are charging. Now, right now, I have a 5-year-old daughter and she is at a great international school, and I can't say enough good stuff about this school. She's 5 years old. She's been there since she's 3 years old. Right now, as a 5-year-old, they've taught her about EQ as well as IQ since she was a baby, since before she could even really speak. Right now, as a 5-year-old, she's doing coding and robotics. She's doing a topic called beautiful math, where she sees math as this beautiful creative subject. She's doing science and technology, all these as ECAs. She's learning Chinese, and overall, the overall school experience there is phenomenal. I won't say the name of the school, but trust me, this school is phenomenal. And I really don't want to have to move my daughter out of that school. The sad thing is it only goes up to year 1, which is her next year in school, and then she's got to find another place to study. Sadly, she's lost a lot of her friends from that school already because of the system here in Thailand, and I'll talk about that in a minute too. So rather than just talk about how expensive it is, I built a tool where you can actually see the numbers. So what I did research. I got all of the available public data of some of the key international schools and bilingual schools, and I built a calculator that would look at what the investment would be for a student learning from X year to X year in their preschool, primary school, and high school. And you can see the overall investment. Now, I mentioned that my daughter lost a lot of her friends already from her school, both after the first year, the second year, now in her third year, she's lost a whole nother chunk of friends again, which is really sad. Why? Because some of the more preferred international schools here in Bangkok and in Thailand have a policy where they will put quotas on truly international kids versus Thai kids. And so I went to one school and they said, Kun Paw Kap, they call me Dad because I was the father of my daughter. I would recommend that you don't take Thai citizenship just yet until your daughter is registered with us, because if you and your wife both have Thai citizenship, that means you wouldn't qualify as an international student, and so you would go to the bottom of the queue of the people who are waiting to get in. And this is where the rub is. If you are a Thai citizen and both your parents have Thai nationality, you basically fall into, I think it's around the 15% quota that's waiting to get in. Not only that, some of these people, there are some schools there, and I know the families that have paid up to 3 million baht. So that's what, around $100,000 US dollars, just to have their kids enrolled into one of these international schools because both parents are Thai. Now, for me, ethically, I really can't swallow that. And for me, ethically, thinking I'm going to be sending my kid to a school that practices this, I don't know what to say. I don't think it's ethically right. I understand why they're doing it. They're afraid that they're going to have such a loading of Thai students that they won't end up speaking English, and if people come out then speaking broken English or a noticeable Thai accent or Tinglish on their English, that will lower the level of the school and it's not considered then truly international, and so their value goes down. So I kind of get it, and I want my child to go to a school where they're going to be coming out speaking like a native speaker of English, not with a noticeable accent. And so I get that, but is it fair? I really can't say that it's fair, but that's just how it is. On top of that, many of these schools have their published fees, but supposing your kid isn't the best academically, or maybe they don't fit the mold, they will have donations. In Thai, we call some of these batia. Batia is a Techial word or Hokkien word. It pretty much evaluates to tea money. I know some people will fight and say, oh, it's not a bribe, it's not tea money, but it is. It's not in the published fees, and for each person it's different, and they will give a donation to the school in order to get preferential treatment for their kid. So on top of all these fees that I'm going to show you today, just remember that there are these additional costs if your child has two Thai parents, where they'll be paying even more than the numbers that I show you here. So let's get into it. Here you can see my calculator here, and I've actually put it up there. You can go to crackinglanguage.com/school fees. I don't know where else to put it. It's not really a language tool, but I built this tool out and I want to make it available to everyone. So you can come to crackinglanguage.com/school fees. And if you're in Thailand, you can use this. If there are schools that are not in there that you want, let me know and I'll see if I can find the fees and put it in. I just threw this together fairly quickly, but have a look at this. So the most expensive school that came out from their published data was Harrow International. And so the way that I did this was I looked at their lowest fees and their highest fees, and usually that's from, say, preschool through to year 12 or the most senior year. So here in this calculator, I can see what the total investment is. So I'm going to choose preschool from a 3-year-old until year 12. You can actually choose whatever time frame you want, and it will show you what your overall investment is going to be. And so what it does there is goes and calculates based on those school fees that they've published what that overall cost will be. I've also, however, put an inflation rate in there. So here it's 2.5%. I think in Thailand it's probably 1.7 or 2%, but you can even change your inflation rate here. So suppose inflation goes up to 3%. And here, what I've also done is I've always wondered, what if I actually took that money that I was investing in the school and I invested it for my daughter, and I put it away and I made a I put it away and I got interest, or I got some kind of return on my investment. So here I've set it as a default of 7%, but let's just say, supposing I want to, it's pretty good, 10% return on that year on year compounded. And then I've put an extra little thing in here. So if I ramp this continue investment age until 0, that is just going to be the investment for just the education. But supposing I wanted then that amount of money to keep on being invested up until, say, the end of their university years. So let's just say maybe 25 or 26. Okay, have a look at this. So Harrow International School, you're looking at the tuition range going from 643,000 to 1.15 million Thai baht. Now here, I've allowed you to choose the currency. So if you want it all in US dollars, you can do that. And you've got a secondary currency here too. So I'm keeping it in Thai baht, but you can see the US dollars there. So here we see the summary. The education cost for a child starting at preschool and going all the way up to year 12, taking inflation at this rate into consideration, will put you back around 20 million baht, or almost 600,000. Now, if you want to include transport, because many of these actually have a car for transport, and meals, which many of them do, these are usually compulsory hidden costs that they don't tell you in the beginning. So adding those on and just using an average of, say, 80,000 a year and 60,000 a year, these vary, but those are very realistic numbers. You're looking now for Harrow, an overall education cost of around 636,000 US dollars, or 22 million Thai baht. So imagine if, rather than paying that for your kids' school fees, you took that money and invested it for them at 10% return per annum compounded, you would actually walk away with 37 million. So you've made actually $400,000 profit. And if you took that $400,000 then and you continued to invest it until the age of 26, you would end up with 1.8, almost $1.9 million. Just looking at those numbers, it made me think, as a parent, why on earth are we even sending our kids to university? Are they going to, by the age of 25, be able to make $1.9 million just in the salaries that they're going to make on top of their university education? But rather, if we just took this money and invested it and found another way to educate, we could actually have this nest egg for them when they were 25, 26 years old that would probably last them for the rest of their life. Actually, imagine up to retirement age. If I wanted to do that till, say, age 65, look at that. That investment rolled over and rolled over and rolled over would make them 24 million US dollars without even having to have their education. That's a bit crazy. Now, I know this is a hypothetical situation, but just as a thought experiment, it's pretty mind-blowing. Now, have a look at Shrewsbury here. It's a sister school there to Harrow, and it's a little bit cheaper, so 478,000 US dollars for the entire education. And if you rolled that over until you were 65, you'd have about $18 million. I wonder if all of your salaries throughout your career would add up to $18 million. The second most expensive school, by the way, is KISS International School. So this international school came to a total education of 603,000 US dollars. And so if you, rather than paid that as their education and just invested it, you'd probably be turning that into 35 million Thai baht, or almost $1 million. So you're making almost $400,000 profit on that. And imagine having $400,000 just to give to your kids as a present when they turn 17, 18, that they can take and invest. Or even better, when they're 25. So if they were 25, you would have $1.6 million to give them that then they could set up their life on. Now, I know these are hypothetical figures, and does it reflect reality? No, not really, but it really got me thinking. Now, another school that many parents send their kids to from my daughter's school once they leave is Bangkok Patana. So if I come down to Bangkok Patana School, we can see here, so this is actually one of the preferred schools by many Thai families. It's a bit cheaper than Shrewsbury and Harrow and KIS, But here we're looking at still almost $500,000 just for the education portion. Oh, by the way, I have extracurricular activities here per term, averaging at 5,000 baht per activity. The reality is that just at my daughter's school, the ECAs or extracurricular activities are around 7,000 to 10,000 baht per term, per semester, 3 semesters per year. Right now she's doing 3. So if I change that to 3, and that's actually, we could even make 4, you can see the costs really add up. Now, if you're wondering what the cheapest international schools are, well, the ones in my data set, now there could well be cheaper ones, is the Modern International School. So that's the 4th least expensive school. So that comes at an overall range of 173,000. So your tuition range goes from 643,000 per year to 1.1 million per year. And so let's just knock that back down to 2 and see what the number changes to. Yeah, so here you've got 161,000. The next least expensive is La School, the Canadian school here, and you can see it's 131,000 for the overall education. The next one is Trail International School. So see if we can find it there. There we go. And so that's 128,000 or 4.6 million baht for the entire education. And then from this data set, the least expensive school is Garden International School. And you can see that's 126,000 US dollars estimated. Now, these are not precise figures, but have a look here. Let me just go back to something like Harrow. You can see here, there's your tuition fee, your registration fee alone. Now, these are some of the gotchas. If you want your kid to go to an international school, you've got to pay the registration fee, and they may or may not get in when you pay that. And so just that alone is over 6,000 US dollars, 225,000, and the application fee, which is another 5,000. This is non-refundable, and usually this goes in, and this is before any other donation that they will require. Some of them want an environment donation. They find all different excuses to get all of these different donations in. And so even though you may be paying this number, and this is an extremely high number, you're actually probably really paying a lot more. And this isn't including excursions and uniforms and all these other charges there. And I've got it broken down here year by year on what the investment would be, and if you had invested it, what it could actually make for you as opposed to investing it in your child's education. Now, I know that sounds horrible. What if you didn't invest in your child's education? But that's kind of one of the things that drove me why I built this site out. Now my daughter, I teach her, how to read and write in a whole bunch of different languages using the site I built. I teach her Thai and other scripts. I teach her math using the abacus. I'm teaching her reading, writing. I'm teaching her tone rules in Thai and in Chinese, even pronunciation in Vietnamese. I've started to build these things out because I've been thinking, does the investment that I put into my daughter's international school, and my wife's investment, she works her butt off as well, so we can actually pay for school fees, is it really giving me a return that I'm hoping for? And the more I'm building these tools out, I've even got a mind to think maybe I should start some kind of school or do, I don't know, some homeschooling or some kind of hybrid school where we can be providing the education but at a fraction of the cost. I really don't know how they can justify these costs. And ethically, to charge this kind of money and all of these entrance fees and have what I would call racist policies against the kids, I really don't feel right ethically putting my daughter in that kind of situation. I know it's just the way it is here in Thailand. These are the kinds of things that go through my mind. They're the things that we go to sleep thinking about and wake up thinking about, because as you can see here, it's no small investment. But going back to this, okay, so we'll just look at Harrow there. If you are looking at having kids in the future, if you're in Thailand, supposing you've moved here, you're young, but you want to get married and have kids, this is something that you've got to think about. Are you going to build a career? Are you going to get a job that's going to allow you to afford this? Now, fair enough, you may be one of the few that are left that gets an expat package where the company will pay for your kids' education. If you get that, fantastic, and they can cover that. But then the catch is, you're locked into that company. What happens if things go sour? What happens if things don't work out between you and the company, but you've moved over here, you've got your kids here, and so you're locked into a situation that you don't want to be in? This is why I call it the international school trap, because it's such a huge investment. You find this is the thing that drives your life decisions, it drives your job decisions, and it drives your ability to decide whether you're going to stay or leave a position that may or may not be good, so that you can afford what would be pretty much be a bare minimum international education while you're here in Thailand, because they can't go to Thai school anymore. They don't have the Thai language skills that will get them through all of their exams and all the system. And even if they graduated, they wouldn't be in this international system to be able to go to universities in the West or anything. So either way, they've got to do this. I actually have two other kids that are grown up now, 21 years old and 20 years old. And when they were about 6 or 7 years old, I moved them to Australia. They jumped from a Thai system. They were at a Thai bilingual school, but I would say as a Thai school. The bilingual portion of it wasn't great. And they went straight to Australia. They had intensive English as a second language, ESL courses for about 2-3 years. And they got into that system. Now they're native speakers of Australian English, if you call that that. And my daughter has actually moved back here for 2 years now since she graduated year 12, and she's having trouble fitting back into sort of this Thai society because they've all gone through the Thai system. My son is staying in Australia for the time being because he's used to the system over there. Anyway, I hope that has been interesting food for thought for you. You can come in and play around with this calculator. I just threw it together really quickly and didn't know where to stick it, so I put it in my site here. You can see the link down here, Thai school fee calculator. So just click on it and have a play around with it. You can swap currencies. So I might change that to Australian dollars and you'll see what the cost is overall. Imagine that. If you send them to Harrow, you'll end up, if you took that money, invested it, making $9.2 million as a retirement fund. I know the reality of actually doing that is probably slim, but it's a great thought experiment. Come in, play around, let me know in the comments below. If you haven't got a copy of Cracking Thai Fundamentals, the book, click on the link in the description below for delivery here in Thailand. Otherwise, you can get it on Amazon. I'm Stuart J. Raj. I'll see you on the other side.